I'm gonna make an example and say, I see my boy having too wild of a night, right? The minute I go to him and I'm like, yo, chill.
Yeah.
He hears me say chill. If he decides to not chill, I've done my bit. Because that man is responsible for his own actions.
Yeah.
And he's also responsible for his own consequences.
Yeah. With Showmax. As you can see, I've got two guys with me. Now, before I introduce them, we had an awesome conversation about sisterhood. You guys really loved it, so much so that I decided to bring two guys in here and chat about brotherhood. So I have house DJ and Vibe FM radio presenter DJ Lloyd. Oh my goodness. I also have radio presenter. He does drive time on Good FM in Cape Town. He does the charts on Saturdays on Metro FM. These guys are really busy and I really appreciate you guys.
Mandela.
We got K-Easy. How are you guys doing?
We're good, thank you. Thank you for so much for having us and thank you for lunch. Jeez, that food was good, except for the avocado.
Okay. Well, you know what? Like I said, I really wanted us to talk about brotherhood. Yeah. We had a fantastic conversation about sisterhood in the industry. But when it comes to guys, I mean, I can't necessarily share opinions about this, but I'm very curious to know how you guys feel. So firstly, is there such a thing as brotherhood in the entertainment industry? In SA, we're not going anywhere else but here. Would you say there is?
You wanna? He's been in the industry longer than I have.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying like beauty before age.
I think he's the right person to answer that first.
Okay.
Because like I come up under him, you know what I mean? So like I come up under him. So a lot of the things that I've seen in the industry, I saw through him first.
Yeah.
And my immediate thing is there is some sort of brotherhood.
Yeah.
I feel there is, but you can elaborate on
Yeah,
that.
I definitely believe that brotherhood does exist. I think there's so many examples of people who have paved the way through the industry. Even like I've had my example. I mean, K-Easy says that I was one of his examples when he was coming up, but I've also had like examples before me, you know?
Yeah.
And even people who came after me are like examples as well. Like for instance, I think one of the earliest brotherhoods for me that I was like, this is definitely possible was Fresh and Euphonik, where you picked up that they're both not trying to be in each other's lanes. They're both not trying to be each other. And they see the value in assisting each other getting to the next steps, you know. And for me, that was one thing that I sought to find very early in my career because the entertainment industry can be extremely lonely.
Yeah. Okay, finish this sentence. You know you have a brotherhood when?
When you don't have to tweet me, you don't have to Instagram me. When you have my number and you call me and you talk to me like an individual.
Yeah.
I think too often now, you know, everybody's in a space where you want people to know that I can call Fresh. You want people to know that I can talk to Euphonik. And I'm using those big names because when people see that, they immediately associate you with being on that level of success.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you're just looking for some sort of guidance. You know what I mean? You're looking for some sort of advice because these guys have walked this path before you.
Yeah.
Also, I think you're a brother to me if I'm not competing with you, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing about me being in your space that's gonna take away anything from you.
On that. So I actually want to touch on that because we know in the entertainment industry there's such a thing as a brief, right? Now, when you want to get booked for a gig or anything like that, they say, I want this kind of look and feel, this kind of age, this market or whatever, like a house DJ. I want this kind of house DJ. But there could be 3 people that fall into that category and all 3 people are friends. Now, when you start kind of competing, because you low-key not competing necessarily, but you could be up for the same things, so you are pitted against each other, maybe by the industry and not by yourselves. How do you guys handle that part?
Look, for me personally, funny enough, because I've seen it and done it a lot, where there's times where people that I've come up with, people who have assisted me, are in the same space for something. I think my brotherhoods are all based on one, maturity. I think it's very, very important to understand what you want as a human being, because the moment that you understand what you want and what you're about, immediately the universe brings people closer to you who are like that as well. So for me, like, it actually has never, like, I'll tell you two stories that are very close to me. Both Kaize and I were at Good Hope FM, you know?
Snap.
Both of us, both of us were vying to be on daytime radio, you know? And when the opportunity, and it's painful being on commercial radio, you know? And I knocked on the door for years, you know? And when the opportunity arose for me to move to that space, I turned it down for a number of reasons, because one, it didn't feel right. Two, it wasn't what I wanted. I think it's very important to understand what you want. And usually when you understand what you want, the universe will bring you people who are like-minded. So you're never in competition with them, you're actually adding value to one another. So like I was saying with the example about commercial radio, half of the challenges that I faced in trying to get into daytime radio, I won't assume and say that Kaize didn't go through the same problems, but at least he had someone who had a little bit of experience on how to deal with it, you know? And we were able to get on the phone when he was trying to get onto daytime radio, for me to like share my advice on how he should handle. And even he then also got some experience that I didn't have. So I would be able to call Kaize and be like, yo, how did you handle this, you know? And I think that's where my brotherhoods have really like helped me. I'm in brotherhoods with people who are not trying to do the same things, but who can also be genuinely happy if I get an opportunity that they wanted too. You know, I remember when Kaize started his drive time show, like I was incredibly happy, because never mind what I wanted or never mind what I didn't get, but for me to see him win and wear that hat is huge for not only me, not only for another black kid in Cape Town, but just like it was like a monumental moment, and you can't help but be happy.
And there's also like a real side to brotherhood that, you know, it's unspoken, because as much as you have people who are for you, the people who are for you need to also be the people who are willing to tell you how to be better.
Okay, now that seems to be something that we don't see a lot of in the industry from the public side, because remember, there's in this industry there's the public side of things, but then there's the reality, if I can put it that way.
So let me give you an example, right? And it's actually an example with him.
Okay, y'all just gonna keep talking about each other, apparently.
Yeah, you said brotherhood. We're here.
Yeah, you said brotherhood.
So you guys would say you have a brotherhood.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there was a show that he did. I used to do an insert for one of his shows when he did daytime for Good Hope on the weekend. And I came in the one day, you remember this, and I said to him, yo, my little sister in the car says you sound boring. And he was offended. He was very offended. He was very offended. And I was like, yo, you can be offended, but it's either you're going to be mad at me or you can hear what I'm telling you, because I'm telling you so that you can do better. Only to find out that the night before he had a big night and he was tired. Simple and clear. But essentially you have people in your corner who will tell you like, yo, you don't need to do that. And the thing is, if you're going to go on Twitter and you're going to tweet me at Kaize, I'm so disappointed in you having done this. You are doing that to let everybody know that
it's more for attention.
It's more for attention. But if, like I said, if you pick up the phone and talk to me as an individual, I respect you because you're saying you care for my future and you're invested in me. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of brother. That's why you won't see it a lot of the time, purely because if it's genuine, it needs to come from a genuine space.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's not for everybody to comment on. People forget that social media is an open playground for everybody. You know, so you're not going to see that. But maybe in the pictures on Instagram where people are together and you can see that these people have a different energy when they're around. It's like...
Would you say though that guys have a culture, just guys in general now, not just guys in the industry, of really calling each other out in things that are a bit more serious, right? So in this country as a whole, we've seen a lot of men do some really crazy things.
I think your question is so layered, so I'll try and handle the layers as I see them, right? I think first and foremost, it's just men in general in 2019, in the 21st century. This is the 21st century, right? We need to do better. So I think that I don't want to sit here and make like we are doing well as men before brotherhoods, before friendships, before anything. I think we just need to do better of taking care of our women. I think we need to do better of taking care of our communities and taking care of ourselves. And the reason I say that is because there's like so many examples every single day cropping up about how men are just trash, So that's just one layer that I just want to put aside first, right? The second thing is that I think it's very important to understand like sometimes how brotherhoods work, right? So KEZ is my brother, PH is my brother. I've got a whole lot of brothers in this industry who, if you took away the industry, will still be my brothers, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm involved in his day-to-day life. I'm like, it's not that I'm not interested, it's that our friendship is based on something real, so it doesn't need for us to be on the phone every single day talking to someone. Some of my realest friends I haven't spoken to in a year, but if we get together, it feels like it's what it was, right? So I'm not making excuses for guys saying that they didn't know, but it's actually very possible that you don't know the day-to-day of what someone else. You don't know what's going on in someone else's house or behind closed doors. You can assume, but you don't know for sure. And usually when these kind of news break, it's also sometimes the first time about like hearing as a guy. And funny enough, there was an example a couple of weeks ago with a Joburg promoter where his girlfriend was like, yeah, he's been beating up on me, I was pregnant.
And nobody knew it.
And the guys were like, no, we didn't know this. But for me, it's not about whether you know or not. It's about when you find out what your reaction is.
Exactly.
Right? And I think some of the guys distanced themselves from him, which I don't think was the right thing to do. Because how are you going to rehabilitate someone who has done something wrong if you are distancing yourself from them? Unless you actually knew and you made attempts to help them and you couldn't help them.
Because my thing is that, is it really a brotherhood if in those moments you then go, whoa, wait, and then step aside?
And like, I'm gonna go bro code for a second, right?
Okay.
Bro code is like, maybe I'm gonna make an example and say, I see my boy having too wild of a night, right? The minute I go to him and I'm like, yo, chill. He hears me say chill. If he decides to not chill, I've done my bit. Because that man is responsible for his own actions. And he's also responsible for his own consequences. So that's one thing that you're taught. You can't cross the line and determine what a person's supposed to do in their life. You can be a guiding hand and be like, bro, I don't think this is cool what you're doing. You know what I mean? I'm not the police. But stop. If that person chooses to not stop, don't be surprised when it comes out. And I'm also like, but dude, I told you. Don't do this. And I think that happened with a number of the promoter in question where not everybody knew, but I think the dudes who knew were like, yo, we said this.
Because I wonder if people ignore the little things, but only then wait for the big things to then be like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think that for somebody, if they are so close and if it is a brotherhood, because again, I don't want to assume you have a brotherhood with someone, right? But I'm hoping that in the small things, in the nights where you just had too much, are you able to consistently be like, whoa, and not only then when everybody sees something, is then when you're like, oh yeah, no.
I think we need to draw a distinction, right? You're a grown-ass man.
You're a grown-ass man.
You've got your own choices to make. And we can't like, I think there's a big difference between brotherhood and me policing you. Right? Like, if you say to me, yo, dude, like, I'm calling you out on this, right? It's my responsibility as an adult and a man to take heed of the advice and make a choice, right? And the choice lies squarely with me. I think what you find sometimes is when guys do side with the brother is when they've made that advice or given that advice to that guy and they've taken heed of it, but the mistake has still happened, right? But there's a big difference when I'm telling you, yo, what you're doing is wrong and you don't listen. then I mean, look, it's every man for himself.
It also puts your friendship into question depending on what the actions are.
Yeah.
Right. So, for instance, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Like, I can't be friends with a guy who beats a girl. It's simple and clear.
Yeah.
Like, you hit your girl, yo, that's not okay. But you know what? That's not okay. I'm not your boy.
So even if you had a brotherhood, that's it.
That's
Yeah,
done.
no, that's
done. No, it's
but
done.
that's preferential for me. It's like, you put your hands on a woman, I cannot be your friend.
Yeah.
End of case.
Yeah.
Simple and clear. You know what I mean? Now, that's what I'm saying. And the assumption that we know is wrong, because a lot of the times we don't know. We don't know guys who have abusive behavior. We don't know guys who are overly aggressive. We don't know. In fact, some of the most successful abusers are the people who come off as charming as ever. You know what I mean? You can't pick that up, right? So you're also in shock. Like, wait a minute, I was with this character, and you were my boy, and I let you into my space. Wait, you chilled with my friends and my girlfriend? What if all of those things come? You know what I mean? So we're just as shocked. You get what I mean?
But like, we won't lie as well. There are times where guys do know and they protect each other. It happens. But like, I think with these two brothers that you're sitting with right now, I think we believe in the quality of relationships. You know what I mean? Like, we want to be in friendships with people who are real people, you know, and who have got real character, you know, and you must be able to call each other out.
Do you think our industry, the entertainment industry in SA, sees brotherhood? Because I think a lot of people will see, like, for example, AKA and Cassper, they don't have a brotherhood, we know that. But they see that as the rivalry and the competition, and that's what guys do. And I'm thinking now, as kids growing up, do you think they have examples of like proper brotherhood in the industry? If the narrative of AKA and Cassper constantly going against each other, that's what hip hop is, that's what this is going on, is louder than the narrative of a brotherhood, because we don't see it as often. People might, or guys, young guys might gear towards that side of life. So do you think we have examples that are public enough that people can be like, you know what, yes, some things happen, but these are great examples to pay attention to?
But it just goes back to human nature. And that's just that negativity will always spread faster, and will always have people talking more, and everybody will have an opinion. Nobody will talk about how great DJ Lloyd's show was this past weekend, but let DJ Lloyd be drunk on the street and someone takes a video, everybody's gonna talk about it, right? So that rivalry will always be a thing that's happening, but no one will highlight the fact that Kwesta has a good brothership with Cassper, he has a good brothership with AKA, he has a good brothership with everyone in the industry, and he respects them equally. No one will highlight those things because it's as if
It doesn't sell newspapers.
it doesn't sell newspapers. People don't care about people being happy and being la-di-da. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's just gonna sit there. But brotherhood, I don't think you can even see. You just sense it. You know what I mean? You feel it.
And it's crazy because even when you called us up for this interview, I didn't even know who I was going to be sitting across. And for the fact that you made that choice, and it's not something that we sit every day on social media and announce, yeah, KZ, my brother, I love you. We don't announce it. But for the fact that, like KZ is saying, sometimes it's not seen every day, but it's felt, you know. And for me, those are the real relationships that you want. Both musicians are such talented individuals, such blessed people. And I think they could have gone further just being positive, believe it or not.
You know what I mean?
There's a show, I don't know if you guys ever watched it, Ayeye.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, I found it very informative because I think it showed brotherhood in a good sense, it showed brotherhood in a bad sense. But I think that the narrative of brotherhood needs to be pushed a lot more. I think our guys, or the generation coming up, need to know that it is possible to come into this industry and live good, form good relationships. Like you were saying, Euphonik and Fresh, like we knew them to travel together, to go to like, I think Miami together and do those kind of things. And I would say they were probably one of the people at the forefront, whether they knew it or not, but of championing brotherhood. So what I'm hoping now is that we're seeing more young artists, creatives, talents.
Funny enough, the one thing that I really enjoy from them both, and more so Euphonik, who's an advocate for this as well, is that the moment that you surround yourself with people that understand abundance, you're never going to be battling with anyone. You know what I mean? You know that, yes, like there's that one gig that you wish you could get booked for, but K-Easy gets booked for it and you're not booked for it. You know there's 100 more coming. You know, you understand that there's so much more out of there. You know what I mean? Even in relationships, People are busy out there killing like this one partner when there's more than 7 billion people on the planet. Like, it usually those things, those negative things, really come out of not understanding that there's more. There's more than you think. There's more than you believe. Yeah.
Brotherhood helps, yo. It helps the bank. It helps you make money. You know,
Makes
no,
you-
not
helps
really.
you save money too.
It's because like you said, like DJ Lloyd and I will put up in a gig together, for instance, right? And I'll hit him up, be like, yo, man, how much did you charge? No, it's like, yo, okay, I'm coming in at this much. I'm like, all right, cool, bro.
Gotcha.
Yo, I'm gonna come, and you let him know I'm gonna come in at this much, bro.
Plus,
Let's
you
make
see,
money together.
Understand the other thing, right? Is if I didn't understand abundance personally. So K-Easy is like, you've been DJing for how long now? Almost 2 years, right? I've been DJing since 2006, right?
Yeah.
And I could easily have an ego and go, yeah, I charge this much, but you can't charge them that much because I've been, nah, dude, come in, make your money. It's like what I always say, right? And some of my closest friends understand this as well. At the buffet, pay attention to your plate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't look at other people's plates at the buffet. Otherwise, you'll get full very quickly.
Gotcha.
Eat your plate, and it's a buffet. You can go back, get some more, sit down, eat. Don't look at other people's plates.
Yeah. Okay. To wrap things up, the reality is, whatever relationship you're in, fights and disagreements will come up. What would you say from your experiences is the best way to handle disagreements between brothers? So you may have had a falling out for whatever reason, and you still feel like, you know what, it's worth patching things up or letting things go, I don't know. But what's the best way to do so?
Look, I'll jump in first. Like, the one thing that I've learned and that's really helped me is understanding and truly understanding what that other person is really about and what they stand for and who they are. The moment that you take the time to do that, less will offend you. So if I know, for instance, that, like, I'll give you an example, funny enough, and I at the time I knew he was super offended, right? But he had to pull himself back towards himself and understand who I am, right? So like a couple of years ago, I always remember this.
Which story is this?
A couple of years ago, outside the club, I just bought a new car,
Okay.
right?
Oh yeah. Bro.
And then I'm usually like a very like low key person. Like I'm not. You'll never see me post
Yo.
up like any material possession on Instagram, whatever, right? And so that day
It
I
was a
drive.
nice car.
That day I drive up, and then K-Easy sees me come out the car, and he's like super happy. But we're in the street in front of people. He's super happy, and I'm like, dog, calm down. Like, yo, I don't need this attention.
You should be a hype man.
But I was like, no, you don't have to. Please don't do that, because I don't need this attention. But I could tell that he was super offended by that, right? But I could tell as well, like over time, he then pulled himself towards himself and didn't make it about him, and was like, yo, this is actually his moment, and this is how he wants to enjoy his moment, right? So it happens a lot of the times where you're like, usually disagreements carry on for longer than they have to because there's an ego involved. Like you're attaching what you think it should be about and not looking at, okay, how does that other person feel? You know, like I've been, like for instance, I've been business partners with Vincent since 2011. Our last fight was in 2012. I've been friends with PH since 2009. I've never had an argument with PH. And we have issues. We have issues with each other, but you'll tell each other, yo, I didn't like that, and move on. And that's why for me, like when I say that a real brotherhood is one that takes into account that I'm also a human being going through things, and you take the time to put yourself in my shoes so that you understand that, yo, it's not bigger than the fact that this is how I want to enjoy something, and vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like, I think disagreements happen. In fact, if you're not calling me out, you're not making me better. I am one of those people who really hates yes men. Lloyd will tell you, I will call you and I'll ask you like, yo, what did you think of that? How can I get better? How can I improve that? You know, even before this interview, we were sitting having a conversation about progression and your mind, and you know, you're not someone in my life if you're not making me better. You know, it's like you can go because we're all trying to do this thing to the best level. So disagreements will happen, but you need to know where it comes from, the core of it. Now, I can't have a conversation with you if I know that you want to be in my spot. You know what I mean? I can't have a conversation with you if I know that you're running your own lane and I'm happy for you, you're happy for me, and we respect each other and we can learn off each other. Then hell, my spot can be your spot.
So look, I think then to answer the question about how to handle it, you know, the one thing that I've always advocated for is anything done in haste, it never lasts, right? So I always like, whenever I feel touched or I feel offended, I first take the time to try and understand what that other person, even if it's messed up, like I try and wait and understand, what are you trying to say to me? I'll even ask you a few questions to understand what you mean. Like the example that KZ made earlier on, he was like saying that the one day that he called me and I sounded bored on air, you know? And the first question I asked him, I was like, yo, what about it are you saying, right? And he broke it down. He's like, no, on this link and that link. I was like, shit, this guy's been listening. And it comes from, this is my brother, and it comes from a place of love. Guess what happened in the next few links? Woke the fuck up, right? So it's the same thing. Like once you have trust and understand that it's a brotherhood, you almost always understand that it comes from a place of love. So you're less offended. You're like, okay, I understand you, you know? And I think just in any relationship, if you understand where the person is coming from and you understand that it's based in love, everything is cool.
All right, I think I'm going to leave it right
Did we give you too much?
No, I think that's just a perfect way to tie it.
When's episode 2 and 3 and 4?
Yeah, we want to
We
be
can do
out
a
there.
series. Like we can do a series. Can we have like a link, like a drop down menu on the channel?
Yo, subscribe over here. It's right here, right? Subscribe over there. Subscribe over there.
Click
And comment if you want KZ and TJ Lloyd to come back again.
click and comment
Over there.
click here, comment here. The name is there.
Yeah.
The A1. Nice. Kulubuya, guys.
Press,
We want to
spread
come
love.
back. Moyin thinks we're joking. We're not joking.
Yo, man. Normally I'm free a lot during this time. So we can
Yeah,
check this
I
out.
got nothing to do. We can shoot another episode.
You know?
Subscribe.
Let's talk about sisterhood next.
Guys, thank you so much for coming through. Like Dave said, I don't even need to say anything. Comment, like, subscribe. And yeah, let us know if you want them back. You never know. Till next time. Bye, guys.
That was dope.